Hello and welcome to the very first episode of In Review. The goal of these videos is to go through and review both TV shows and movies, either pre or post release. Now for the very first episode, we have come out the gate swinging with an absolute banger as Tommy has been able to get his hands on the first 6 episodes of Iron Fist. Now before we get started, we are not, because the show hasn't been released yet, we're not actually allowed to talk about any specifics of the show, so this will be completely spoiler free. So, Tommy, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this, what are your first initial thoughts of the first 6 episodes of Iron Fist?
It's just to be very, very general, it's okay. This show isn't the new Daredevil, which I was hoping for. Full disclosure, I've only seen Daredevil season 1 and most of season 2. I'm really behind on the Netflix shows.
You've got a little bit of catching up to do.
Yeah, I've got to see Jessica Jones and I've got to see Luke Cage, but I was really looking forward to Iron Fist. I'm a fan of the character, so I wanted to jump in with this one. And thank you very, very much to Netflix for letting me see the first 6 episodes. And yeah, so to be honest, the first 2 episodes specifically of the 6 are the roughest. They're a slog to get through. It's a bit cheesy. It's a bit predictable. They're tough watches. But I promise you, after that, it does get a little better.
Yeah, I was going to say most of the Netflix stuff, because the whole series is ready from the go, it's not episodic, they normally are quite slow to get going, but for you to actually say that it is slow to get going for a Netflix series, that's not a very good thing to hear right at the very start of Iron Fist.
Yeah, it's not even that it's just slow, it's that it's bad. Where Daredevil, for example, is the only example I can give, I'm afraid. it starts off a bit slower paced and more like a slow burn. Like, you know, you almost see the flames slowly moving across the fuse, ready to blow. This just feels like it's just bad at the beginning. They're just poor episodes of television, whether it's Netflix or not. It's not very good.
Which for our first review is obviously not a very good thing to hear right at the very
start.
start.
No, especially for something like Marvel, which we both love.
Yeah, and they've just been smashing it with Netflix right now. And obviously, I have not seen any of this yet right now. It's only Tommy that has, so I'm still yet to see this. And I'm obviously a massive Marvel fanboy. I always have the blinders up. I never see the faults. So it's going to be curious to see if this is someone coming from a really critical point of view, or if a fan is also going to notice these faults. So getting into to more of the actual detail of what we can talk about, what was your thoughts on the script? Because I know you already have some reservations about it.
Yeah, the biggest problem in the whole show, well, one of the biggest problems in the whole show for me was the script. The dialogue is just predictable. I feel like as an audience member, I was always 3 steps ahead of them. I always knew exactly where it was going, almost to the point where I knew exactly what they was going to say, just because it was so cliched, and they just hit so many classic benchmarks, and it's kind of frustrating to watch that. I mean, as a show, it's nice when you guess something and it comes true. That's fine. But when you just know exactly what they're going to do and you could have almost wrote it yourself, there's no entertainment there.
And this obviously could come from a standpoint of both of us are avid TV and movie watchers, so quite often we can guess the plot and the script, but for someone who's a bit more of a layman watcher, they don't watch it as much.
It feels more like they've taken a paint by numbers script and they've just filled in the blanks.
Right.
And they've just put this character there, and it's just that same old thing again and again and again.
And to be honest, by this point, 2 seasons of Daredevil, 1 season of Jessica Jones, 1 season of Luke Cage, and probably all the other Marvel movies that come before it, most people that be watching Iron Fist have already watched the others, so they're not as layman as I would say. I very much doubt someone's going to pick up Iron Fist as their very first one, so by this point, as you say, it could become predictable. So, with that in mind, what about the tone? Because sometimes the script, the characters, everything else can be great, but the tone can really take you away from the main pulling point of a show.
Right, so the tone is actually one of the more redeeming factors in some regard. So it definitely feels like it still fits into the MCU. You have your obvious references to the Avengers New York thing, a few Incredible Hulk mentions, a few Daredevil mentions, just little things like that just tie it in nicely, and then they're not throwing it in your face like some other things might. It feels like it's in the same world. But the tone that I really wanted from Iron Fist in particular was this kind of mystic martial arts sort of thing, and you do kind of get little bits of that. I just don't feel like you get enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, and to be honest, that actually makes sense. What you were expecting. I mean, obviously, this isn't spoilers for the show. This is just based on his comic book character with his training in Kunlun,
which has already been mentioned in the Netflix shows, I believe.
Yeah. So, I think so.
Yeah, Daredevil.
In Daredevil season 1, one of the drug traffickers, one of the drug trade, I think she ran away to Kunlun, or she's
that's
come from
right.
Kunlun. It has been mentioned. But because of his training and his history there, you are expecting almost like a superhero mix with the martial arts movie, like a hybrid of the two. Like superhero shows are kind of a martial arts anyway, so you're expecting a real focus on that. And is that something they didn't really deliver on thus far?
It's there for sure. I just don't. I feel like the martial arts is definitely there, and the way they talk about the art itself and honor and stuff like that, it's really interesting and it is really nice to see. But it's the actual mystic side of it. I don't feel like they've gone too heavily into, especially after Doctor Strange. I would have expected them to do a little bit more, to explore it a little bit more, and they really haven't.
Yeah, it would have been a perfect chance to double down on the magic and really explore that route a lot further. Before Doctor Strange, it might have been a bit kooky, it might have been a bit odd, but now would be the perfect time to.
Yeah, to be, it feels a little too much like Arrow in my opinion. Not just if you've seen the trailers, you may have seen that as well. That it's a guy who's been away for a while and he comes back and he's rich, etc., etc. But also in that, they kind of have a lot of that mystic stuff in Arrow with like the Lazarus Pit and things like that, and they don't give too much explanation to it, and it's kind of the same here, which is fine. Like as an audience member, sometimes you have to take things for granted and just accept it. But 6 episodes in, you kind of need a little bit more explanation. 6 out of 13 episodes as well. You're almost halfway at that point. You kind of need a little bit more.
Right, that makes sense. And obviously, I'm assuming you were referring to the Arrow TV show there.
The Arrow, yes, on the CW network. Yeah,
just
to be clear.
So, I'm sorry.
No.
I was just going to round up and say, like, as we finish this, what are your final thoughts on the season?
Yeah,
would you recommend?
So I would recommend it. Like straight out of the bat, I would say give it a try. It might be for you. It might just not be for me. Those first 2 episodes are just poor. There's a few little minor issues I have with things like flashbacks. They force them in there. They look unnatural when they cut to them. And there's this one scene that's shown over and over again. It's obviously a lot of their budget went into that. The intro's great.
the intros always are with the Marvel Netflix stuff.
They really knock them out of the park. But I will say just keep an open mind when watching those first 2 because they are rough. You will see that. And I hope that episodes 7 to 13 really step it up.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And then we have it. They are our spoiler-free review for the first 6 episodes of Iron Fist. If you like this video, please give this video a like and a share. It really helps the channel. It helps us grow. And maybe we might need to have to do a review once Iron Fist is complete to see if it did continue that trend.
Because you would have seen it then as well. I'll be interested to hear what you think.
It would be nice to see 2 opinions of the entire show in its entirety. Because obviously right now we have just seen a snippet of, or you've seen a snippet of what Iron Fist is actually going to be. But yes, thank you very much for watching and listening to this video. If you liked it, please like and share. It really helps the channel grow. And until next time, we'll see you in the next video.